It's no big deal, but we would like to know, college students, who you got?
I'm voting for Trump.
Are you really? Wow. What's the reason?
I'm tired of paying the taxes I'm paying.
Yeah.
I work in healthcare.
Okay.
The things I see and how the union's working aren't working.
Do you get any slack? Do you get any? Do people give you some hard time for voting for Trump or wanting to vote for Trump?
I don't necessarily talk about it.
Yeah, that's good.
The workplace, you say the word Trump, you're outed.
Isn't it wild?
Mm-hmm.
This is why I'm kind of out here, just like talk about it, because people. This is a college campus. We need to talk about who's going to be the leader of our country and why. You know.
Right. I think a lot of people are voting on feelings rather than policies. And I'm not necessarily, I don't like Trump. I'm not saying I like him as a person necessarily or his personality. I definitely think he needs a filter
Yeah.
sometimes. But if we're looking at policies, I don't think Harris has anything to do with the country.
I'm not sure what policy she's really even running on.
Correct.
And that's why I'm out here as well, to see if people can defend why they want to vote for Kamala
Also,
Harris.
Border is a really big thing for me. That's terrifying.
Why exactly?
Because these people are coming into our cities and ruining our cities.
Yeah.
And it's so clear. It's not on main media, but which is so unfortunate. But if you look around, go to Portland.
Yeah.
What is going on in Portland?
It's bad.
Like,
it's bad.
For people that grow up there, they're like, "Oh, this is normal. Portland is like the city of being weird." This is not normal.
Yeah.
The things you see, you should not have ODs on every single street. I should not have to carry a pepper spray everywhere I go.
Yeah.
I should feel safe where I live.
So
don't.
The question becomes like, do you think the government wants things to get better, or do you think they're actively trying to destroy cities like that?
Such a good question.
Yeah. Because I mean, you got to look at what's happening and what they're trying to do.
Right. And I think the whole conversation, I mean, you see it all over social media that if Harris and Biden wanted to change America, they had 4 years to do it, and they did nothing. And what did Trump do in 4 years? And what sucks is that if he is elected, he basically has to restart from the ground up.
Yeah.
And the support that he is getting is different this time around, if that makes sense.
How so? What do you mean different?
Because I think I don't even know what the polls show. I don't watch politics at all.
I don't think polls are accurate anyways.
There's that.
Yeah.
Unless it's a debate, because I won't watch anything that's like, oh, this is what was said, this is how I interpret it.
Right.
I'm not watching it.
Yep.
But like in 2020, Trump had just major conservatives and Christians. But now I think a lot more people are opening up to the idea of like, hey, this is bigger than just abortion. This is bigger than just the border. Like, there is something wrong with this country. This is not working. And I feel like Trump actually sees, like, he's very big for small business owners and for women and children. And yes, those are different groups, but I'm a 19-year-old college student who works full time. I cannot afford to have my own place.
Yeah.
Even with a roommate. That's scary for me.
It's pretty insane, huh?
I cannot imagine having kids right now.
Yeah.
I don't even.
Especially when our parents were able to buy houses and pay off their college with like a minimum wage job in the summers.
Like easy.
Yeah,
that was
easy.
Nothing you even had to think about. Money was obviously something you still needed to budget for, but it wasn't like, oh shoot, I need to put this much away in savings or I will have nothing.
Totally. So wow, I love running into people like you who actually are not emotionally involved in all this stuff.
Absolutely.
Where you were saying before, everyone's thinking emotionally and what applies to them instead of what's better for the country. Sure. And we're getting in the weird spot. Like, it's almost like there's mass brainwashing going on in the country.
The whole conversation about like anti-vaxxers or how Trump is the Antichrist, I think it's comical.
Did you take the vaccine?
I did.
Yeah? How many did you take?
1.
Yeah?
I'm very against it. I had to keep my job.
Yeah. It was the biggest bullying campaign in the history of the world when they fired people. Yeah.
My mom lost her job because of it. She's also a nurse. So I saw that and I was like, I can't afford to lose my job.
Yeah.
So I have to take a shot. And it was really stupid to me because a lot of people were like, it's a shot, just take it. For some people it was. It wasn't to me though. It was a mandatory thing that we're pushing with no like scientific.
We were the experiment, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you have the conversation of my body, my choice. Where was my choice in that? No paycheck or
Little inconsistent with the liberal ideology, huh?
100%.
Yeah.
The going to Clark is really funny for me because I do all online, but
Yeah.
I read the discussion forums, and I think it's so funny the things I read, and I'm like, I don't know if I am just extremely biased because of how I've grown up or what I see. Because
Did you grow up in the city?
no,
Where'd you grow up?
Battleground.
Interesting. That makes a huge difference.
But my parents are totally different political views.
Yeah.
And so I've gotten both. And there are things that I definitely don't agree with that are 100% conservative.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't say I'm independent either. But when it comes to Trump or Harris,
That's exactly why I'm here. I would love to hear an argument for Harris. I don't, unless it's like Trump derangement syndrome. I'd hate Trump. I don't understand.
I don't think I've ever heard one statement why someone is voting for Harris without the word Trump in it.
Yeah.
Which is sad because
That's exactly right.
If you're seriously voting on females, or if we're talking about, I watch a lot of Charlie Kirkpatrick.
Interesting. Charlie Kirk from
Yes.
America First Foundation. Turning Point, USA.
Yes.
Yeah.
And his debates with college kids.
Yeah.
And I think it's so funny. They pull up the LGBTQ and the transgender and the abortion rights, and sure, that's important to some people. That's not important to me.
Yeah.
And I get it. Some people that's really important. I don't know why we should bring all of that to an election. I don't feel like that's country,
Mm-hmm.
like it sucks. The clubs at Clark, I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, queer lunch, gay painting.
Everywhere.
What about straight people?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, let me take you one more further. What about straight white people?
100%. I'm the minority.
We're the minority now, and we can't really speak up, or we're called racist, or we're called all the names in the book.
Mm-hmm.
So interesting with I'm going to go a tough question on you here. Interesting with the migration. Do you see a problem with our demographics changing in the United States?
As far as diversity,
Mhm.
I wouldn't call that an issue. I think how it is happening is an issue.
Yeah.
Again, I work with so many different populations and cultures and everything,
Mhm.
and that's been an eye-opener
Yeah.
for me. I have nurses who don't talk to women, and that's just their culture,
Yeah.
and that's accepted. I don't think it's okay in the workplace at all. I have nurses who literally do not speak to me
Really?
about patient care because that's their culture of not speaking to women or not respecting women's ideas.
It's interesting, huh?
It's insane. I think that there should definitely be, come here legally, but let's do some English literacy. Let's help you find a job so you
Yeah.
don't have to go into selling drugs or trafficking.
Being dependent off the government.
Exactly. Let's actually make a system that works for you. We're not saying we don't want you here, and I think that's why a lot of people get their feelings so upset about Trump. And he's like, I want to build a wall, build a wall.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily what he's saying. He says he wants to keep his country safe, but also allow those in that are doing it legally.
That's exactly right.
The right way. I think he portrays that idea a little too hardcore for people because people get their feelings hurt, and that's what I think about.
See, I would say the opposite. I would say he needs to go harder, but I know what you mean because I think, I mean, it's pretty crazy. Trump, the immigration issue is huge,
I mean, I was on a recent trip to Idaho, and we had huge vans at the gas stations with, may I say, Mexicans hopping off.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's a little sus to me. In the middle of freaking Idaho?
Yeah.
What? Okay.
Well, especially if their allegiances are to now voting not Republican towards blue, I think you bring up a really good point. I don't know if it's necessarily the color of your skin at all. I think but people come here have to adopt American culture, though.
Yeah.
And I think there's this huge movement where people are allowed to come in and not adopt our culture, and we're seeing some serious ramifications of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it's getting scary for sure. You're taught to have a family young, but you're still supposed to go to college. I'm like, all these things are really not lining up.
Yeah.
Like, how am I? You're setting up a timeline that doesn't make sense.
Yep.
But also, you're setting up a societal change that I'm not able to do anything in those timelines.
Yeah. What do you think's gonna happen? I mean, do you think that I think something's gonna have to change, right? There's
going to be something big, I feel like.
Yeah.
And I thought that maybe the assassination attempts were that. Or
Yeah.
like, oh crap, something's happening. Didn't even phase anyone.
It
wasn't-
almost made liberals easier to not care after the second and third attempt. I found people be like, "Who cares?" And it's like, well, it's this president of the United States.
Mhm.
It's pretty wild.
Right, and I think it's important that Trump is like still fighting.
Yeah.
He does not care. Like he will not back down, and I think that's important to realize.
Yeah.
Whereas, I mean, you have the Harris and Biden situation, which is honestly disgusting to me. I don't know how he got into office. Clearly has dementia. Come on now, I work with people like him. It's sick.
Yeah.
Hearing him talk, oh, I hate it. And like how.
Yeah, he's been struggling his whole presidency, and then that last debate, everyone was like, "Well, it sounds like he's has dementia," and everyone who was paying attention was like, "He's been like this for 4 years.
Yeah,
Like he's been like
not
this for
new.
exactly."
Yeah.
That's crazy. Well, man, I love talking to you like this. This is amazing, honestly, because I personally don't think I'm going to vote though, because I personally think we're approaching such a time that I don't know if voting is actually going to get us out of it. I'm a little bit worried about coronavirus happening under Trump's watch. Do you have any thoughts about like how that went down? Like, I feel like he could have taken a stronger stance, and it kind of bummed me out that he went along with the masking and the vaccine, and he still doesn't really apologize for how he handled that. Do you see any problems, like, or are you worried about that happening again if he gets elected?
Having COVID again?
Like the whole shutting down the whole economy and the whole, I mean, we shut down the whole world, the whole country, basically,
Yeah.
over what seemingly doesn't needed to be happening. I mean, that was a medical tyranny, essentially.
Right. I actually haven't even thought about that happening. How do you think that COVID's just gonna come back up? And
I personally am not sure that COVID was anything outside of the flu. Call me a conspiracy theorist,
No, 100%.
but I think that liberals can manufacture events to essentially destabilize our economy and our society. And it's a training ground to obey a little bit. I mean, do you see how many people would wear masks in their car by themselves?
Right.
You know, so I personally fear what's stopping that from happening again.